bit. A top Russian military official saying that the Kremlin is withdrawing this aircraft carrier from its waters off the coast. This comes after the government forces retook control of the rebel-held city of Aleppo last month. But as Moscow bolsters its military base, what does this all mean for the civil war in Syria? Robert Simcox joins us, a counterterrorism analyst at the Heritage Foundation. You know, Robin, I mean, we've been living and witnessing this human catastrophe. 5 years, 400,000 dead, 5 million refugees. Does this finally signal we're at the beginning of an end? I mean, got the ceasefire and the upcoming peace talks in Kazakhstan.
Well, Eric, I find it certainly very hard to believe. I would certainly need to see a lot more evidence of Russia ultimately scaling down its involvement in Syria than just the withdrawal of a creaky old airship carrier. It has to be remembered that the vast majority of Russian air sorties actually don't take place via this aircraft carrier. They take place using a Russian air base in western Syria. That's not going anywhere. And we also need to remember that Russia's talked in the past about scaling down its involvement in Syria, and then it's ended up actually escalating its activities. So I think we need to treat these Russian claims with a lot of skepticism.
We were looking at the aircraft carrier. It's the Admiral Kuznetsov. Well, it's the only one that they have. I mean, it was used really for Aleppo. Do you think if Vladimir Putin was really serious about going after ISIS, it would stay there and go after Raqqa, go after Mosul? It would assist, you know, the Iraqi forces and us. I mean, you've got U.S. officials saying they're not attacking ISIS. They're just full of it.
Well, yes, this idea that Russia could be an ally against ISIS flies in the face of every shred of evidence we've seen from the past few years. Russia certainly could be an ally if it wished to be, but it doesn't. It's been targeting the forces around Aleppo. It's been targeting rebels who are against Bashar al-Assad, but aren't necessarily aligned with ISIS, and that's because it wants to prop up Assad. This is Assad, the man who, of course, who has been responsible now for almost 500,000 deaths, whose forces bomb maternity wards and things like that. And of course, Assad wants to present the choice between him and ISIS, very conveniently for him. And Russia is aiding Assad in presenting that choice, which is why it's very hard for me to believe that Russia could ever be anything other than an arsonist in Syria as opposed to a firefighter.
Well, an arsonist in Syria, great choice of words. I mean, but you hear what the president-elect says. Mr. Trump says he hopes to make some type of deal with Vladimir Putin, and they can work together against ISIS. What would your advice be to Mr. Trump?
Well, President-elect Trump isn't terribly different from his two previous predecessors on this, who also thought they could work with Vladimir Putin. President George W. Bush and President Barack Obama also believed that they could cajole and persuade Putin to be something like a useful ally. And they were both disappointed time and time again because Vladimir Putin isn't a useful ally. He's a thug and he's a bully, and thugs and bullies only respond to acts of strength. And I think that's where President-elect Trump has to make his stand. He has to tell Vladimir Putin that the weakness of the last 8 years is over, there's a new administration in town, and that the way the U.S. dictates policy towards Russia is about to change. I hope that's what he does, although we need to wait and see.
Do you think he will, do you think he will do that?
Well, at the moment, President-elect Trump has talked quite glowingly, really, about Russia and its potential to act as a useful ally in Syria and around the world. In his tweet, he mentioned the tweet he wrote today. I have to think and believe that as President-elect Trump takes his place in the Oval Office and he sees the very pernicious role that Russia plays around the world with his own eyes, and he sees the impact it has on his own ability, then I don't believe he will. I think he'll have to get reality.
All right, Robin, sorry to cut you off against the clock. Thank you for your insight.